This is Goku-san DBZ and welcome back. Today I am counting down, in my opinion, 10 of the absolute worst movies of all time. So this is, instead of being more positive like I usually am in most of my videos, this is a time I can just be a little bit more aggressive and I guess you say a little more, I don't know. But with that said, in my opinion, some of the hands down the absolute worst movies of all time. Keep in mind, this is majority my list, but this is also a look at other people's opinions and critics as well. Dishonorable mentions. First, The Last Airbender. Star Trek, the motion picture, is just such a dull and boring movie, in my opinion. The Last Airbender has some of the worst child actors I've seen, hands down. Trolls 2, easily one of the worst horror movies ever. Yeah, you remember for how bad it is, but with that said, it still doesn't get it off the hook. It's still a piece of crap, one of the worst movies I've ever seen, in my opinion. Especially production value and everything. Also, Street Fighter The Legend of Chun-Li. To quote Maximilian, dude, winners don't watch that movie. Because it's one of the worst video game based movies of all time. It makes the original 90s Street Fighter, which is a guilty pleasure of mine, makes it look like a masterpiece compared to it. It's just horrible. The acting is bad. The story makes absolutely no sense. The dialogue is horrendous. And there's just so much bad about the movie. Don't put yourself through it. 2005, unfortunately, in my opinion, made the worst Spielberg movie ever done. Dishonorable mention also, War of the Worlds. Really bad, one of my least favorite Tom Cruise movies ever. And easily probably my least favorite Spielberg movie ever done. A Nightmare on Elm Street 2010 remake. The actual special effects weren't bad, and it actually was, to be fair, more loyal to the source material, the novel, which it's actually based on. And yes, Nightmare on Elm Street is actually based on a book, believe it or not, like many things nowadays. But the actor is what did it for me. He was horrible as Freddy compared to the original actor who played Freddy throughout the years. This guy couldn't hold a candle to him, had no likability factor or anything. Also, Spy Kids 3D, don't put yourself through that horrible kids movie. It's bad, and I mean it's bad. Hulk 2003, one of the worst comic book movies of all time, in my opinion. SpiderMan 3, just because I despise emo Peter Parker, and even more than that, even more than hanging emo Peter Parker, which is one of my least favorite parts. It's not the worst thing. The worst thing is how they betrayed Venom. It was horrible. Bad piece of crap, and yeah. I refuse to rewatch Spider-Man 3 to this day. I hate that movie with a real passion. Yeah, maybe fanboy mentality, whatever. Last dishonorable mention. Transformers The Last Night. Easily in the top 3 worst Transformer movies. Coming in at number 10 is technically a movie that I guess you could say it's so bad it's funny, just because it has so many quotable lines like, "I did not hit her. It's bullshit. I did not hit her. I did not." Oh, hi, Mark. And yes, you probably now know the movie that I'm referring to, and it is called The Room. Comes in at number 10 worst movie of all time. It's a bad movie. Many people list it as the worst movie of all time. It has like a 1% or so on Rotten Tomatoes, I forget. But no, it's not the worst movie of all time by far. I've seen way worse movies. At least this has a redeeming factor of being funny because of how bad it is. And when you've watched The Disaster Artist, which I highly recommend you check out, it makes you understand that movie even more so. It makes much more sense once you've seen it. Coming at number 9 is, of course, in my opinion, the single worst movie M. Night Shyamalan has ever done, and that is The Happening. Comes in number 9. It's just stupid, in my opinion. It's bad, but it's more stupid than anything. It makes absolutely no sense whatsoever, no logic, and it's maybe the worst acting job I've ever seen from Mark Wahlberg, and that is saying something. Coming at number 8 is Jaws 3D. Do not put yourself through Jaws 3D, I'm telling you. It is seriously bad. Jaws 3D is horrendous. The special effects and everything in the movie are just downright pathetic, in my opinion. And the special effects, they're some of the worst I've ever seen. Coming in number 7, some people think it has a redeeming factor because of how stupid it is, but me, I just don't like it plain downright. But it depends on the person. Art or whatever is in the eye of the beholder. Number 7 for me, though, is the Super Mario Brothers, the movie. It made absolutely no sense. Coming in at number 6, based on a novel with the same name, starring John Travolta, but it's just so dumb. One of the worst movies of the 90s. Coming in number 6 is Battlefield Earth. Do yourself a service and don't watch Battlefield Earth. Do not put yourself through the movie. It's dumb and boring as heck. But fun fact, it was also originally the novel it's based on was written by the founder of Scientology. So I guess it makes sense John Travolta played the main role. He was a Scientologist and still is. Coming in at number 5 is Transformers Revenge of the Fallen. In my opinion, the second worst Transformer movie ever. Hands down. Some people have this ranked the worst. I think it's the second worst. Just because there's another movie that's just as bad, but even more boring. And that's bad when you're a crappy quality film, boring, and everything under the sun all combined. Which is what number 4 is. Number 4, worst movie of all time on my list, Transformers Age of Extinction. This movie is downright dumb. I mean, heck, look at the background in what is supposed to be Hong Kong. You'll see the Sears Tower. Excuse me? Why is there a Sears Tower in the background of Hong Kong? Explain to me that, Michael Bay. You piece of crap, poor excuse for a movie director. You are the worst movie director, in my opinion, of all time, hands down. I know he's not watching this, but I just really hate him. I despise him more than any other movie director of all time. I really do hate his freaking guts. He's done so many bad movies. What he did to Transformers is bad enough. He did even more dumb, stupid movies outside of that. A little movie called Pearl Harbor, which destroyed Ben Affleck's career for quite a few years, I might add. Coming in at number 3 is, in my opinion, the number 1 worst comic book superhero movie of all time. Coming at number 3 is Superman 4, The Quest for Peace. It's one thing to hear how bad it is. It's another when you actually watch the movie. It is so cheap and badly executed film. I can't even explain really how bad this movie is. It's one of those times you have to experience it for yourself to really understand how bad the film really is. Coming in at number 2 is the Resident Evil movie sequels. The original Resident Evil I actually like quite a bit, in fact. I thought it was well executed. Even though I really was not a fan of Resident Evil Apocalypse because they made Nemesis into somewhat of a joke and from then on, the Resident Evil movies into nothing but a laughingstock. Really bad action movies is what they are. They have nothing to do with the source material of the original Resident Evil games, which are still to my day pretty much my favorite survival horror games of all time. Well, between that and Silent Hill. But you get the point. At least the Silent Hill movies actually tried. The first Resident Evil movie tried, but then Apocalypse onwards, it just got worse every single sequel. Extinction is easily one of the worst sequels I've ever seen. It's easily one of the worst. But I dare say, I think the worst of all of the movies, hands down, yeah, as I said, Extinction's pretty bad of the sequels, but in my opinion, Retribution is about the most dumb out of all the sequels. And I don't even believe the last one, which was done calling it like the last chapter, or whatever the crap it was called. It was a piece of crap. All the sequels, especially anything, even though I really didn't like Apocalypse, it had one or two things I didn't mind in Apocalypse, but for the most part, it was a mindless action film. At least they tried to make it have an element of horror in the original, and the soundtrack was actually good in the first movie as well, which is no surprise given producer over the music of the first movie was Marilyn Manson, which is probably why the music helped the atmosphere of the film. But after Apocalypse, it just got really stupid. And of course, we can't forget Afterlife, which was nothing but a 3D gimmick movie. The only redeeming thing about was the main theme of the movie was done by a perfect circle, and that's about it. Number one worst movie of all time, and yes, this movie very much is me being very biased because I'm such a fanboy of the franchise. And the name of my YouTube channel says it all. Why, in my opinion, this is the worst movie of all time. And in my opinion, the worst movie ever made for me personally, just personally, Dragon Ball Evolution comes in is easily the single worst piece, excuse my language, it's the biggest piece of shit I've ever seen in my life. I really hate this movie with a passion. And whoever was involved in the production and everything, the only thing this movie deserves is to be mocked. Like in the Nostalgia Critic review of this movie, along with Little Karibo and one of the members of Team 4 Star. That was great. That's the only time I recommend checking the movie out, is that review or the Honest Trailers review featuring Team 4 Star. That's it. Do not watch this movie. If you're like an uber fan of the Dragon Ball universe like myself, yeah, you will be going ballistic raging. It's one of the few times when I was in theater, I really was about ready to walk out of theater. Why I didn't walk out, I'm not sure. I should have, so I didn't have to put myself through that crap. But anyways, with that said, those are, in my opinion, 10 of the single worst pieces of crap movies of all time. But tell me, what do you think are some of the absolute worst movies of all time? Do you agree with me? Or do you disagree? If you disagree, leave a comment and explain why. And give a detailed, in your opinion, detailed argument. But with that said, this is Goku-san DBZ signing out, and I hope you enjoyed the music in the background from Halo Combat Evolved. Speaking of, in the next several months, I will be bringing some gameplay from the Anniversary Edition on my YouTube channel, so stay tuned for that.